So, have you ever seen a whistle like this? This is the whistle that I learned to play on. This is a melody flute from Laurel, Maryland. These were made in the 40s and 50s and were used as school instruments in the Washington, D.C. public schools. It's a tin whistle. It just is side blown with what was based upon a fife with a cheater on the side. Today I'm going to talk about the basics of how sound works on a tin whistle and some of the names of the parts of the instrument, because I think it's helpful to know that. Let's use a generation D as an example. It's a fipple head, and this isn't the only fipple head instrument. Recorders, of course, are fipple head instruments, and the fancier version of tin whistles, the flageolet, which was played in orchestras in the 1800s and had a much bigger top and had keys on them, also is a fipple head. And a fipple head is characterized by having some kind of blocking on the end, a beak or some kind of windway, a place for the airstream to be concentrated here, and then a window. We see that open window here. And inside that window, the airstream encounters a blade. You can see the little white area on this one because Jerry Freeman worked on this one. You can see the edge of that blade pretty clearly. And we also call that the labium. And there's a plane after the air splits at that point. And there's usually something that further shapes the air as it leaves the windows, because some of it's passing this way and some of it's vibrating up and down. The splitting of the air creates the sound, and that sound, when the tube is closed, when all the holes are closed, that's the fundamental tone of the tone body. This is a D instrument. D instruments are used most commonly in Irish music and sessions and recording when you're playing with other instruments. The sound that's produced, the wavelength of the sound, is roughly twice the length of the instrument for the fundamental. So the key points here are that the air is free to vibrate at the instrument's end or at whichever hole is open if you're playing higher notes, and also up here at the top. So this is it's considered an open duct flute. Open duct flutes have the characteristic of, with harder pressure, they move up an octave, which means we can play a full scale just with 6 holes, an open note, that is all the fingers off the hole, and then close them again, and up we go. So with just 6 holes, we can play a complete major scale, and you can play again in the second octave simply by blowing harder. Now, there are technical matters. When you start to get up higher, how do you support the note so that it doesn't go flat? But basically, that's how it works. This is a cylindrical body. The other design of the common tin whistles, this is a Clark. Let me turn it around so you can see the name. This is a Clark that was made sometime before 1987, and as you can see, this is a rolled tin instrument with a conical body, wider at the top than at the bottom. It allows for a little bit easier transition octave to octave, and it does tend to compress the holes together a bit so that they're easier to reach. So there are some acoustical advantages to having a conical instrument, and rolled tin was fairly easy to accomplish this with, because they rolled the tin around a mandrel, and then, as you can see on the back, they soldered a seam. So that's the components of the instrument. Here's a modern Clark. Again, we have a bit of a beak here, the block, the window, the edge or labrum, which in this case is just a dimple in the tin. This is hand done at the factory to tuned by the workers. And then we have the tone body with the fundamental tone occurring with all the fingers down, and then as we shorten the tube, in effect, by lifting up, we go up the major scale, and then we can change the octaves. So I hope that's helpful. I will, in the next video, talk a bit about how I hold an instrument and how I work to get a consistent tone. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else about the structure of the basic instruments that you'd like to talk about. There are lots of easily available. This is another Clark. There are lots of available instruments in the inexpensive range, and then there are a lot of very expensive whistles, relatively speaking. A lot of the difference has to do with what happens up here at the fipple head. The design up here gives you a lot of different types of tones and different playing characteristics. And I hope to talk more about that in a future video. Thanks.